Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to give you some tips of how to care for your violin and your bow. So starting with the bow. When we keep the bow in the case, we want to make sure that the hair is loosened. So that means making sure the screw on the end is turned anti-clockwise and that there isn't a gap really between the stick of the bow and the hair. So there's no tension on the stick of the bow, and that will protect the stick and keep it straight. When the bow is tightened, it's under a lot of tension, and if that's like that all the time, then it can mean that the stick doesn't stay straight and it becomes what we would call warped. So make sure your bow is loosened when it goes in the case. When you put your bow into the case, make sure that the hair is facing down, your bow is carefully secured, and it's definitely clipped in so that it's not going to come out and knock onto your violin. So also with the bow, we try really a lot not touch the hair of the bow with our hands. And that just means that the natural grease from our hands doesn't get onto the hair and stick. When that happens, the hair can get quite dark in colour, and it also means that then it doesn't make a sound as we go to put it over the string. Sometimes we need some rosin on our bow. We always need a little bit of rosin, but really less is more when it comes to rosin. You need rosin in order to make a sound, but just enough so that you can make the sound. If you put too much on, then it can start to come off the bow a lot, get onto your violin, and even when you have too much, make a bit of a sound. Now the rosin is very sticky that we use on the bow. So it's important when you put your bow away to occasionally just wipe it, the stick of the bow, with a microfiber cloth, and that just wipes the rosin away from the bow stick and the varnish and stops it from really sticking and damaging the varnish. So just occasionally wiping it with a microfiber cloth when you put it away. So going on to the violin. When you put your violin away into your case, make sure that you always take the shoulder rest off, so that the violin can be flat down into the case, and you can secure it carefully with the shoulder rest off the violin. We try to be really careful about the bridge of the violin. It is quite delicate, and it's also very, very carefully placed on the violin. So if we put the violin so it's face down onto a surface, then that can sometimes damage or move the bridge, and that is not good for the sound of the violin. When we're handling our violin, we're trying to really keep our hands on the top or the bottom. We can, of course, touch the body of the violin, but we want to try not to get too many marks onto the varnish of the violin. The varnish is really important in terms of the sound. So if you do get marks on it, then you might like to rub those off with a microfiber cloth as well. Same goes for when you're using the strings and rosin gets onto the violin. You can just carefully wipe it off. Perhaps every time you finish playing, or every few times if you notice there's rosin on the violin, and that just protects the varnish. Again, the rosin is very sticky, and that can damage the varnish over time. When your violin is in the case, you want to make sure it's secured. The violin cases are generally very protective, but we do have to be careful as we're handling them that they don't get knocked too much. Otherwise the bridge can be moved, and that again is not good for the sound of the violin. So although it's in a protective case, we definitely want to be careful as we're handling it to make sure it doesn't fall on the floor or get knocked against things too hard. When your violin is at home, or you're moving around with it in the car, try and make sure that it's not in direct sunlight or somewhere that's very close to a radiator. Being wood, violins are very sensitive to changes in heat and humidity, and it can mean that your violin will go in and out of tune a lot if it has a lot of big changes in temperature. So generally you'd store your violin case away from a radiator and out of direct sunlight when you're at home. So I hope you found this video helpful, and please subscribe to my channel.